Joining us now with more perspective is Rich Eisen. He's editor-in-chief of Capitol Weekly, a nonpartisan, nonprofit publication focused on politics here in California.
Yep.
Rich, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, these last few weeks, I think Newsies, Politicos, we've had our head in this redistricting conversation. But I think in coming weeks, more people will be essentially forced to hear about and consider this redistricting fight. Talk about what people will be seeing in the next 2.5 months between now and November 4th.
Well, first thing they're going to see is another bill on Monday, because the section of one of the bills that deals with the trigger aspect of all this, if Texas does this, then we're going to do this. That got pulled out of one of the bills today. It'll get heard on Monday. There will probably be a lot more pontificating, but it will get passed and it will get signed. So that'll be the first thing we see. After that, it's going to be a mad rush to define basically who's right and who's wrong here. That's going to be the thing that's going to take focal point over everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we know that the recall election for Governor Gavin Newsom back in 2021 cost the state some $200 million. Some lawmakers are estimating this special election in November could cost upward of $250 million, and that's just to administer the election. Talk about this spending you anticipate seeing on the campaign itself, the vote yes, the vote no.
Well, we've already seen Charles Munger come out and say he's going to, put $30 million into it. Kevin McCarthy, former House Speaker, former California lawmaker, has said, he's going to raise $100 million. That's the opposition side. The sources I know on the pro side say they're willing to spend at least that much money. Let's just say that they do. That's already $260 million. My guess is, and it's only a guess, but my guess is this could get significantly higher than that. I would not be surprised to see it get around 275.
And in such a truncated amount of time, just 2.5 months.
Absolutely. But, messaging and turnout are both very, very expensive, and I think both sides are willing to spend.
Yeah, absolutely. Texas is the reason that Democrats here have cited this whole redistricting effort in the first place. California's plan will flip 5 House seats Democratic, they hope. In Texas, it will be Republican, 5 seats. That neutralizes it. But what if more states jump in the fray? Where does this end?
I've seen various opinions on this. Now, I used to cover legislatures all over the country, and the one thing that people have to keep in mind here is that not every state has the same system. There's about 26 redistricting commissions around the country. Other states do things differently. Obviously, Texas does, because they're able to do this with a simple vote, whereas we had to literally change the Constitution to be able to do it. So, it's really hard to say. Indiana, New York, Ohio, they've all talked about getting in. There will be other states that are, Illinois has talked about a little bit, New York. The other thing you have to look at is some of them already have the breakdown is going to be hard for Democrats or Republicans to gain more than what they've already got. So it's way too soon to know exactly what any 1 or 2 or 3 states would mean.
Sure. And speaking of, California Democrats' goal to flip 5 seats, I was texting with a friend of mine today, and she said, what are the chances that essentially the math doesn't math, that California Democrats don't get these anticipated 5 flipped seats if voters, of course, approve the math?
Well, that would certainly be bad news for Gavin Newsom. I mean, he was asked that question today at the press conference, and he said, we're going to essentially, we will roll with what happens. I mean, at this point, this is what they can control. They can get this to a vote to the people, and then they can message the living heck out of it on both sides, and then we're going to see what happens. And yes, if it doesn't work out the way they want to, it's going to have some long-term ramifications, I think, for him.
Yeah, a lot of political capital Governor Newsom is staking on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
For folks watching this, maybe distantly, maybe very closely, what's your message? Why should people be paying attention to this, and why should people be caring about this? I think you said in a political episode of your podcast, the Capitol Weekly podcast recently, that redistricting is something that usually makes people's eyes kind of droop, but it's pretty important right now. Oh, man, yeah, for years and years and years. That was a great way to get people to tune out anything you were talking about if redistricting was part of that. But it's become like everything else. Everything we do, it feels like, has become super political. And so people are paying attention to this now. And they should have always been paying attention to this. I mean, we have a redistricting commission in California because before that we had what we jokingly called the incumbent protection plan, where, one party had made a deal with the other to make them the permanent minority in exchange for some, a little more power here up front. And
there's a lot of that goes on around the country. One of the things that may come out of this, and I'm not optimistic, but hopeful. We're already seeing a lot of people on all sides saying this is the time to have a federal law that bans this kind of thing around the country, and we have 50 independent, bipartisan redistricting commissions, one in every state. And I think this will push a lot of momentum that way. It's not going to happen anytime soon, but I think we're all seeing now, without that, it could be chaos.
Yeah.
I mean, it very well could be chaos.
Yeah.
I hope not. I think you hope not.
Yeah.
But it could be chaos.
That's certainly the fear. And like you said, this could be the catalyst for change on the federal level.
If there's anything that's positive that comes out of all of this, I hope that's it.
Yeah, very good. Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Rich Eisen, editor-in-chief of Capitol Weekly. We appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.